Hey,
So
Adam.
look, to continue the session. So I want to welcome Greg, who's our Chief Evangelist and Development Officer, and also a very good friend of mine. Um, so looking forward to asking you a few questions and chatting hospitality with you.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Loved some of the commentary so far. It's funny, so much of some of the things for 2024 are tied in to some of the stuff that I've actually kind of like looked at this year. So yeah, looking forward to it. So to expand maybe on some of the things they Richard and yourself discussed earlier.
Fantastic. Well, let's get straight into it, shall we? So let's talk about 2023. What predictions did you make? And what came true for you?
The first one is probably, yeah, I guess not one to be, we never want this prediction to come true, but hotels are still going through being hacked. I joked about it last year, I think at our Christmas party, and I said, I wonder which big chain next year will have, data stolen or any, customer data, credit card data and stuff. And then, lo and behold, it happened this year to a very big chain in Vegas. And it created a huge commotion as it always does. But it's a sad prediction that I didn't want to come true, but yes, it did. But that was like one thing I think some hotels is just not thinking about this moving forward.
Yeah. And look, it's going to continue. It's going to continue to keep happening. Hotels. It's a great target. There is so much valuable personal information and payment information out there for these attackers. On that particular case you were talking about, one of the things I thought was really interesting, and I don't know if you saw it. It was posted on LinkedIn a few times. Was
I did.
straight after that, there was all the job adverts that went up, paying I think it was 100 and something dollars per hour, and they were very open with it, saying what you're working on, but the requirements were you were expected to work 10-hour days, 7 days a week until we get this sorted. I don't know if you saw that.
I did, and I mean it's somewhat cringy, I think, as well. That's the remedy to solve this problem was to just hire a bunch of people as quickly as possible.
Make
I
it go
hope,
away.
yeah, it's just like vanish. I hope that they will plan to put some more long-term measures in place because I'm sure the fines specifically from government institutes on the data breach will be pretty hefty. So good luck to them, and I hope they solve it.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, on the flip side of that question, what were you expecting that actually didn't happen and didn't come true?
Um, like I I think the biggest one for me, I imagined a lot more soft brand mergers into bigger brands. So softer brands like, I guess leading hotels, preferred, et cetera. I kind of, as I, I'm kind of mainly looking after somewhat of our relationships around the brands and the global brands. I thought there would be another follow-on to like what I called with Ennismore, and maybe some other big brands would eat them up. But Joanne said there was very little transactions this year. So I think I was expecting to see more of that in 2023, and it just didn't happen for me. Like that was definitely number one. I think maybe we'll see more of this in 2024.
Okay, absolutely. And do you think there's going to be more movement for these big brands to actually be creating an independent group which are, separated away from those chains, to give people that unique feeling of hospitality that seems to be what everyone's craving recently?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you look at last year, Hyatt, did a merger joint partnership, whatever you call it, with Lindner Hotels in Germany, and trying to bring that entire group into their, what's the new brand? I think JDV or something it's called. I can't remember the name. So, you've seen that last year. You've seen Accor do the same with Ennismore. I think it's a matter of time. And also, most of the soft brands, LHW, small luxury hotels, preferred, they're all in that luxury segment, which is where most of these global brands like to spend their time, their investments, etc., because it yields huge amounts of returns for them. So I think this would make sense at some point. And the consolidation may have not occurred this year, perhaps to them being conservative and with what's happening in the industry, etc. I think maybe next year might be we might see some good plays of some mergers happening, especially in this space. Definitely.
Fantastic. And what about surprises this year? Anything that you didn't predict and just popped up and really caught you off guard?
I had quite a few surprises this year. Um like I think I've noticed since traveling, and I travel quite a bit, how many hotels are now catering for the working traveler. And you said it earlier, from Friday to Monday. Most Aussies are having to enjoy their weekends with including work, and they're not obviously commuting anymore. And I've seen it. I was joking about it. It was like, oh my God, there's so many more plug points now everywhere you sit in a reception lobby, which is wonderful. I'm never going to complain about that, to charge your devices and crack on with work. And I find this really exciting because I I was hoping as well for this year, for this year specifically, like more residential, co-working starting to come together and almost sort of like blending together a little bit. And I saw, I saw, Whitbread, they bought this amazing office building in London, and they're turning it into a hotel in a couple of years. And I think you're going to see more of that. So I was, I guess I'm surprised that it's not happened as fast as it should have had, I guess. But then most companies are having a hybrid model with people working from home, and coming into the office for a few days. So I think there's definitely a trend here, and I've spoken to quite a few different hoteliers this year, where people have started to look at conversions for office space. So yeah, I guess the surprise is it's not happening fast enough,
Yeah,
or as
yeah,
fast as
and
I thought it would.
I hear you on the plug points. Definitely, travel a lot and absolutely have seen places to connect with USB sockets, USB-C sockets, which is fantastic. The big thing for me is that I see that and I go, oh, these hotels, they understand, more people are working here. But then, and I was at a hotel recently, and they had it was a meeting room that was in their lobby. It was small, four, 4x4, 2x2 meter cube room with glass windows. And I was like, oh, private office space, fantastic. I need to make a few calls. Doors locked with no instructions on how to book this. And I actually went to reception and I said, hey, am I able to reserve this private meeting room? Oh, no, you got to go through the sales team. You got to call out, our conferencing banking event line. And it's crazy that, I'm willing to pay money for the space. Let me in. You know that there's
Money
a
on
lot
the
of people
table.
working here, and why are you not doing it? So I hear you on that point. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I'm in London, obviously today, going from hotel visits to hotel visits, and the lobbies are heaving. And I'm thinking, what are all these people doing? And they're all on laptops, all making phone calls. And it's so cool to see, because that means they're eating, drinking, spending all at the hotel. And a lively hotel is an exciting hotel. Everybody wants to be around that. So I'm actually happy to see that happening and that
Yeah.
trend continuing.
And every coffee being sold, that's revenue right there. And this ties to what Richard and I were talking about earlier, was that the drop in service levels in hospitality because of the staff changeover. People having meetings there, you should be going up to them every 30 minutes. Would you like another coffee? Would you like another coffee? And by the time they've left after 3 hours, you can get some good revenue out of them. One of the hotels in
Yep.
London that I was recently at, I noticed that they had, in their meeting room and in their restaurant, in their cafe restaurant sort of thing, they had TVs you could plug an HDMI cable into, so then you could present what's on your screen. And I was really surprised that, one, they're not monetizing that, and they're not regulating it with some sort of time booking, because there was just a lot of people sitting there having a chit chat, when people like me, who was meeting a customer, could have plugged in my screen and really utilized that space.
Oh man, I can't even agree with you more. I went and got lunch today, and yeah, I wanted to order it at the hotel that we were, but the queue is just horrendous. Whereas across the road, Joe and Juice, you just download the app and you're ordering it, and someone's just preparing it, and you just collect it and go. And I think they've done more transactions through that application than people standing in a line. And I think digital ordering, yeah, one that you picked up earlier as well. I think more and more of this is going to grow next year. And I think it has to because if you take away the friction from people ordering stuff and actually delivering the goods, things will just get much easier for the customer, and people will just be happier.
Yeah, 100%. And if you tease me by putting a QR code there that goes to a PDF, I'll be packing up my laptop and leaving. Um, so
Hopefully we've
let
moved away from that.
yeah, and you know what I'm like. You know, I hold grudges. So let's talk about 2024, shall we? The slides will
Yes.
magically change. So what are you looking forward to next year?
Ah, if everybody knows, the thing that I harp on about the most is loyalty. I think people are sick to death about listening to me preach about this, but that's what I've done this entire year is actually preach about this. Like I feel loyalty is quite boring at the moment, and that's the honest truth. It's doesn't there's no more oomph in it, and I don't understand why, because you take everything outside of hospitality and everybody's so loyal, in terms of using the same service. And that usually comes down to, this instant gratification. And I think we've just not done enough with our loyalty programs. But there is light at the end of the tunnel. I think seeing what Citizen M did last year with their subscription model, and you'll always have a bunch of rooms at the last minute available because you remember is good. And then this year, Ennismore Hoxton launched their disloyal subscription model, paying a monthly fee and getting all the things that you wait for, accumulating points. Um, yeah, you don't have to wait for your accumulating points. Yeah, best way like an Amazon Prime subscription, right? Or a Spotify membership, or Netflix, whatever it may be. And I think where this is going to go even better is that I think people will start building not only loyalty to booking through the hotel website, because you would be getting all those things directly. And I think this is something I would love to see more next year. Like I'm a huge, huge advocate of it. And earlier this year, like British Airways totally off hotels launched subscription models to earn Avios, and I know you're a huge Avios fan as I am. And I love it because now I don't have to wait to take that flight. I can just now pay for a monthly subscription and get my Avios deposited straight into, and then plan a holiday or whatever it may be. And I'm like, it's everybody. If we started doing this, we would build more loyal guests because they get what they want up front. And as you know, consumer trends are changing. Everything is now, and yeah, no more waiting, I guess. That's for me. I think 2024, I'm hoping, fingers crossed, a few more brands like start thinking about, shifting gear on this.
Yeah, I think you raised a good point about you getting what you want straight away, and yeah, I know that you're a big British Airways fan. Me, I'm a big Qantas fan, and very very loyal to my airlines because um, you can utilize those points and get that instant gratification and use them way that you like. And it's an interesting note there. What you say about hotels is at the moment, loyalty programs that hotels do is very dictated by the hotel. Once you get gold, we'll put water in your room and you won't need to pay for it. It used to be that the newspaper. If you're a gold member, there'll always be a newspaper on your doorstep. But um, I think we'll see people start to rethink these. Hey, we have this asset which is a building with a cafe. There's a gym in there. There's hotel rooms. How can we let people interact with those spaces in a way that they prefer? I think that will be a big change we see, like what you
But
said.
just traveling to Toronto, great example. In the hotel executive lounge, they've tried this. There's a room on like some top floor, and there's free beverages and food being circulated the whole day. But you only get access to that in two ways. You either book an executive or club room, I think they call it, or you're an elite member of the said hotel chain to get access. So thankfully, we were having our event there, so we were able to get access to use it for calls and stuff. but it was empty. And I'm thinking how many people in this maybe just on the cusp of being an elite member, but if they paid for it, they could have the service upstairs. And I guess similarly, you could compare it to, I guess, a lounge at the airport, for example. So I think there needs to be some inspiration in this space, and I'm not going to give up. I'm hoping next year some movers and shakers will come forward.
Yeah, the airline lounge innovation recently for elite tier members has been on arrival lounge access. Being able to go to that lounge as soon as your plane lands, shower up, freshen yourself up, and go to a meeting. It's a huge place for all these airport hotels to innovate, because you're right. You have to book an executive twin room for you just to be able to use it for 5 minutes
Yeah.
before
And look at
disappearing.
that same example for you arriving in Australia. You will arrive at 7 a.m. at a hotel, but you can't access your room until probably 2 or 3 p.m. in the afternoon. But as a paid member, this is kind of guaranteed. And I think these are the little things corporate guests will cling on to, because it's the little things that make such a huge difference, which is quite frustrating.
Absolutely.
Sorry,
And
don't get me
if
started
you're
on
an
lawyers.
innovator, and just to wrap up there, and if you're an innovator and you do something first, people will remember that. And if you give them that 5 minute shower after they get off the plane, they will thank you for it and then come and rebook. I've just gotten the alert that we're at time, so thank you so much for speaking with us today.